Hello and welcome to this episode of Eagle's Eye. I'm your host Payton O'Toole. Thank you for tuning in. Today's guest is an Ashland University senior studying religion with a minor in classical learning. He is also the head coach of the first-year boys high school soccer program at Hillsdale High School, while also being the owner of a Christian clothing brand named YHWH Athlete. Armand Silva, also known as Mondo, thanks so much for joining us.
Absolutely, this is awesome.
So Mondo, could you talk a little bit about the religion major here at Ashland and what your experience in the major has been like so far?
Yeah, so I grew up in and around churches and faith-based schools, and something that the religion program here has really helped me with is to learn about the lenses that we view faith and religion from. And so it has helped me learn how to interact with different demographics and also better understand faith and theology as a whole.
Yeah, that's really awesome. So one thing that is really interesting about you is your clothing brand, YHWH Athlete. What made you kind of want to start or be a part of the company, and what has it been like running it?
Yeah, so a big thing that I realized is that athletes don't understand that their sport is their form of worship, and worship can take many forms. That was something that was really struck home through the religion department here, actually. And so last fall, a couple buddies of mine had the idea of starting a clothing brand. And when it came time to getting a message out and getting products out and actually working with athletes, they asked me for help. A couple months later, brought me on board, and it progressed really, really well to where we got to interact with almost 4 dozen different athletes on campus, as well as many athletes virtually. Just having those conversations, events, talking scripture, how sport and worship interact. It's been a journey. It's been really great.
Yeah, so what has it been like? You kind of mentioned being with like 4 dozen athletes. What's it like to walk around campus and see like the people who bought your clothing?
It's a little surreal. It's humbling to know that we represent something greater than ourselves, and to get others in that collective, it's humbling.
Yeah, what would you say the coolest part about YHWH Athlete is?
I loved when we would bring athletes in and for photo shoots or film or brainstorm sessions, and just hearing their testimonies and their stories and having conversations about how can they better utilize their sport as a form of worship for maybe their teammates that aren't in the faith, or maybe that they can take confidence from their faith through their sport more than they were. And just hearing the stories of how we've been able to help them it's been fulfilling.
Yeah, that definitely sounds really cool. So owning a business, being a college student, and a head coach, what challenges have you faced doing all those things at once?
Yeah, definitely cultivating rhythms of rest. I feel that I do my best work from a posture of overflow when I'm really relying on God's power rather than my own, and owning the businesses and coaching and having tight schedules. It's very easy to just want to grind through it and do it on your own. The most difficult thing has been forcing myself to just be, to just sit. And it's been actually a topic that's been explored a bit in the classical learning minor here at AU. It's a relatively new minor. I would encourage people to take it because it's relatively small as well. But cultivating rhythms of rest has been challenging, but has boosted my productivity and the quality of my work.
Yeah, going off the classical learning, what does that major look like, or the minor look like? As you said, it's relatively new.
Yeah. So Dr. Griffith is the head of the program, and honestly, there's really only 2 exclusive classical learning classes and then a few electives through the Ashbrook program. And those classes look like us reading classical texts or other important texts, and then honestly just talking about it in class. And you better come with a question, otherwise you didn't do your work. And there's some essay work. In the class I'm taking right now, later on in the semester, we're actually going to be able to teach the way that he teaches with some homeschooling co-ops. So I'm really looking forward to that. But no, it's it's not so much memorization, it's more critically thinking as a group.
Yeah, that sounds really exciting.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Kind of switching back to YHWH Athlete a little bit, what is something you hope that people take away from the brand?
The power that God has over and in our breath through whatever it is that we do. Through athletics, obviously, athletes are out of breath quite a bit. And so recognizing that just as a singer has a solo or plays its part in a chord, that we play our part in our sport, and our breath equally glorifies God. And so learning to rely on him, since he did give us breath. It's called YHWH Athlete because in the Hebrew, how do I explain it? English letters compared to the Hebrew letters makes the letters YHWH. And so there's no vowels there, which you might think to yourself, how do I say that? But you just say that by breathing. YH is inhaling, WH is exhaling. And so if anything, we want people, especially athletes, to understand the power and authority that God has over and in their breath.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So moving outside of YHWH Athlete a little bit, we're going to move into the realm of soccer now. Being only 21 years old, how has it been being the head coach of an entirely new soccer program?
It has been also humbling, but extremely exciting. Over at Hillsdale, they haven't had soccer for 13, almost 15 years. And many of these guys are daring to dream, they're daring to be bold, daring to try something new. And I myself started my soccer career late. And I was one who dared to dream, and to be with a group who was doing the same, that there's a lot of doubts from others and not a lot of hope from others, but them themselves are daring to hope and daring to dream and daring to believe in themselves, and to be able to be a part of that and witness their growth, not just as athletes, but as young men, it's everything.
Yeah. So what's something you've learned from a mentor in the past couple of years that has helped you as a coach specifically?
Oh, that's a good question. It actually, something interesting about the classical learning program here. A big thing about classical learning is it dives into how the greatest thinkers and the greatest learners of history thought and learned, and the different processes that they went through to become that, and to critically think and to understand rhetoric and logic and grammar. And a lot of that isn't forced. You can't force someone to learn that. You have to cultivate environments for them to learn it. And it's just like that in soccer. One of my mentors was the tactical director of IMG Academy. His name was John Hall. I would coach camps and clinics with him throughout the summertime alongside Graham Ford, who's based out of here in Worcester. And Halsey, John Hall, would, as I'm in the middle of coaching them and showing them these things, as I'm like 17 years old, he's like, just let him play. Just let him play. And pick your moments to intervene. And it's the same thing of when you have a bunch of kids having a great conversation, exploring topics. You just kind of want to let them play through the weeds a bit. And it's very similar in soccer. You equip them with the tools to use, but then you got to give them the space to use it.
Yeah. So kind of going off of that, what is something you have learned from Hillsdale so far with coaching and everything, or what impact has the program left on you being about halfway through the season?
Yeah. These boys, oh man, where do I begin? The biggest impact that Hillsdale has had on me is like I said before, just seeing these boys believe and be bought in and dare to do something cool. Like, you don't start a program out of scratch nowadays, and especially around here, like a little bit of middle of nowhere, and these guys are daring to do something new and bold and cool. And seeing the work that they put in inspires me to match and exceed that. Honestly, truly credit to them. It's been just a lesson of what raw heart and passion is able to do.
Yeah. So you kind of touched on this earlier you said yourself you dare to dream. What advice do you have for those who consider themselves dreamers and have a lot of ideas they want to pursue?
If people aren't laughing at your dreams, you're dreaming too small. And you have to be a bit delusional to be successful. It is a biological benefit to think outside the box and to go beyond what you think your limits are. The brain operates in many modes, but when you think outside the box, it motivates you and it pushes you through the hard times, and it is what allows you to exceed your limits. And when you aren't being a bit delusional, your brain goes off of what it knows, not to get new results, but to simply get the same results. The most successful people, the most successful athletes are able to switch between those two modes of thinking, being delusional and then also having feet on the ground actually doing the work. And so my advice out there to dreamers is continue to dream big, bigger than you think. Have the confidence to be excellent and the humility to work hard enough to get there. That'll be my advice.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, Armando, thank you so much for taking time out of your very busy schedule to be with us today, and good luck with the rest of your season.
I appreciate it. This has been fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah, that is all for this episode of Eagles Eye. Make sure you guys follow us across all social media at AUTV Ashland. I'm your host, Payton O'Toole. Thanks for watching.